Hey friends, Carly with Moxie Mind here again. I wanted to share some stories with you today because I think that stories are fun, and I also think that we can learn a lot from sharing stories with each other. And so, as you may have noticed, the title of this video is called Patience, Plants, and Paths. And these are things that I think for surface value, they may not have a whole lot to do with each other, but they do have some intricacies woven in. And so I wanted to start by sharing with you a story about a plant. So, once upon a time, I had a plant and I received this plant as a gift. And I currently have a lot of plants. And at the time, I had quite a few, but I wasn't, like quite maybe the green thumb as some of you might be. And so I put this plant in the windowsill and I watered it, every once in a while. I didn't feel like I was watering it too much or too little. One day I noticed it was looking sort of droopy. And so I thought, that's weird. Kind of checked it out and nothing seemed to be super wrong with it. So then I continued to kind of monitor it throughout the next couple of days. And it didn't really get better. It kept getting more and more sad looking. And so I put it in a different place. Maybe it doesn't need direct sunlight. Maybe it just wants indirect light. And I kind of changed up the watering thing. And, I kept trying different things over the next week or so, and nothing seemed to revive this plant. It ended up dying. And I was upset a little bit because I had been gifted this plant and I had really wanted it to work out. And I had, really tried a lot of different things to try and keep it alive, and it had died. And so I ended up putting it back in its place in the windowsill and just kind of thinking like, oh, I'll come back to that later and use the pot for a different plant and kind of like, just put that there for now. And I left it there for I don't know, a few weeks. It got put on the bottom of the to-do list. And it wasn't a place that was super in my line of vision all the time. And so I eventually came back to it a few weeks later and I noticed that a brand new plant was sprouting out of the dirt. And it reminded me that sometimes there are going to be things in our lives where we really, really like desperately want them to work out. And we try everything, right? We do all that we can. We put a lot of energy and effort into keeping things surviving and kind of to keep them going. And the thing is that maybe sometimes the real beauty happens when we're able to let go of what we think should happen and just allow what is. And it leaves room for new things to bloom and blossom. And in this example, quite literally. And, I think that ties into the idea of patience, which I don't know about you, but that's not a virtue that I have much of. And so thinking about this idea of like maybe how patience comes in and also how that ties in with the path that you're on in your life right now. And I've been talking a lot about paths and the idea of where you're at and where you're going in my yoga classes in the last week. And I think it's really important to reflect that sometimes you might not know where the heck you are or where the hell you're going. And that's fine. That's totally cool. The fact of the matter is that if you can really be in touch with who you are and getting back to that core self, that I think you will always be exactly where you need to be. And the idea that, using the breath as a tether back to the self, knowing that despite, how things might be chaotic or unknown or confusing or a whole list of other adjectives, that coming to the breath can be a practice of knowing that, again, you are exactly where you need to be. And I wanted to share a little something with you. It's I guess a poem of sorts. It's from the book The Radiant Sutras, which examines the sutras and kind of does an alternative reading on them. And it says, Worship does not mean offering flowers. It means offering your heart to the vast mystery of the universe. It means letting your heart pulse with the life of the universe without thought and without reservation. It means being so in love that you are willing to dissolve and be recreated in every moment. And I really love that reflection and how it can tie back to the idea of a path, right? Because I think if you're in a place where it feels maybe you're at a crossroads or a confusing place or a decision or an unknown or some sort of like discomfort and disarray, I think if you are able to take some quiet space with yourself and truly ask, where does my heart go without thought, without reservation? And can I go there? Can I take that as the path, knowing that the whole thing doesn't have to be laid out? There doesn't have to be an intense, like sight of knowing what's ahead, but that knowing deep in your bones of I'm going to put this foot in front of the other, that is always something you have access to if only you come back to the breath. I think this can be practiced in a lot of ways on your yoga mat. So if you have a teacher near you that you have an accessible way to reach them, then that's great. If you're in Denver or want to do virtual sessions and want to explore more of this concept, I'm happy to chat. And I think the idea of recovery comes into this idea as well, right? Of like, okay, if I'm on the path of recovery and I'm trying to figure out what this new definition is or how to proceed or where the hell I'm at on this like map of things, uh, understanding that being the skills of like mindfulness and drawing inward and reconnecting with yourself are only going to be helpful on this journey of whatever your path is. And I want to leave you with the reminder. I know I've said it several times already, but I just want to really let it sink in that whew, you are exactly where you need to be. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. As always, I would love to hear maybe some of your stories or any questions that you might have. Please feel free to reach out on social media or otherwise, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye.